Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ. I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
Hey guys, we truly and sincerely thank you so much for continuing to support us, for checking us out, and for really just watching our podcast. We know we're three knuckleheads, and sometimes the things we talk about are really just minimal or could even be trivial, but we have fun doing it. And we like the fact that so many of you will give us some of your time and watch with us. So before we get into tonight's episode, we want to make sure that you hit the notify and subscribe buttons here so that every time we drop a new episode, you'll get a little message to check us out again. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. Hold on.
Podbean.
Hold on. Podbean and iHeartRadio. And don't forget to check out all of our wonderful social media, Instagram, Reddit. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page. Don't forget to check out, of course, here on YouTube. And what's the other one?
TikTok and Twitter.
TikTok and Twitter.
Yeah, and that's just assuming those platforms don't kick us off, anytime soon.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm the senior.
With Roland being the ardent Trump supporter that he is.
Wow. Well, hey guys. So how are y'all tonight? Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to check our website, now that you mention it.org, where you can find the links to all of those platforms, as well as some updates about what's going on in the world as it pertains to Now That You Mention It podcast. All right.
Yeah.
So how are you guys doing now?
Good, man. I'm go ahead, RJ.
I was saying I'm good. I haven't been impeached today, so can't complain.
Whoa.
Hey, the night's still young.
Yeah, the night's still young. We haven't brought you out on full. We haven't brought you.
All we need is 2/3 of a majority. You know what I mean?
Damn.
So
hey,
you're walking a fine line. You better watch it.
Don't make me hire a mob.
Ooh,
wow.
Are you gonna pay him in Bitcoin?
No, I was gonna pay him in tamales.
He's too cheap. He's too cheap to pay him in Bitcoin. I guarantee that.
Little Caesar's pizza.
Yeah. Hey, hey. And at that, it won't even actually be the pizza. It's like, hey, I got some coupons for half off.
Damn. It's those Arby's coupons.
That's why he's laughing. That's why he's laughing, because he knows it's true.
The Arby's coupons, they send you like 50 of them every Wednesday.
The value pack that comes in the mail, he takes those out and says,
dude, you know what? I think they stopped sending those because I haven't seen a value pack or one of those things in a long time.
They don't send them to you. I get them too.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh,
they're not specifically addressed to me, but
well, they're never addressed to.
There's just current resident.
Yeah, they're never addressed to you specifically, but still. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen one of those things in years.
Yeah, no, we still get them.
It's ever since I moved to Oak Cliff that I haven't gotten one. So I'm starting to wonder. Value pack, I'm coming for you. Cancel culture's coming for you. You don't deliver to Oak Cliff.
I think you mean West Dallas.
Whatever, dude. Oak Cliff, West Dallas, it's all the same to me.
Whoa.
They're going to say, whoa, hold on. Wow. First you attack Houston, and then you offend Dallas like that?
Okay, I'm glad you brought Houston up, because what the hell is going on with the Houston Rockets, with the Houston Texans? Y'all sports franchises are in a shambles over there. Your baseball team are proven cheaters. And this year they couldn't do shit because I think they took the trash cans out of the dugouts.
God damn.
The James Harden Westbrook experiment is apparently over, as the Houston Rockets blew that up today by trading James Harden to Brooklyn. Who they traded? I don't even know who they traded.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Brooklyn now.
And man, Deshaun Watson does not want to be a Texan. He wants out, baby. And I'm telling y'all, Houston, your sports franchises suck. The Cowboys have their issues.
Oh my God!
But you know, the Mavericks are in a good way right now. KP's back tonight. They rolled, even missing 5 of their players, 2 of which are starters. You know, the Rangers, they still leave a lot to be desired, but man, at least I'm not in Houston. That's all I can say about that.
Hey, Dad, you might want to be prepared to wake up with one of Wishbone's paws in your bed.
Damn, man.
Well, you know, I can
say
those
things
because
this episode.
I was going to say I can say those things because still hasn't reached out. I haven't heard a word from them.
No, you know, that's interesting because I'm surprised too. I wonder if maybe this was
an inside joke. Maybe it was somebody who know.
Maybe, you know, because I really haven't had anybody follow up either. You know, honestly, we've already thrown out 2 or 3 invitations for someone to contact us. And
well, I think it's because the people at are just got their heads buried in the sand because they know their Houston franchises are blowing up.
Damn.
Maybe
they're what do you call? What's the word? Planning their next steps in silence. You know, when we least expect it.
Or what if they're all in quarantine because they have?
Are they going to storm City Hall in Dallas or what?
Hey, you know, that's a good point. Kind of getting on a sidetrack is that it's kind of crazy. You know, obviously given what we do, but this can be applied to so many different, I think, fields. Is that nowadays when someone doesn't get back to you on an email or whatever, you never know. Like, you want to follow up. But at the same time, you don't know if they've got COVID, if they're, you know, if someone in their family has COVID. Sometimes when I don't hear responses right away, not that I wish that on anybody because I don't, but it just randomly pops in my mind. Like, what if I'm trying to get a hold of this person and then I feel bad because, you know, they've been in the ICU this whole time.
You know, that actually happened to me this week. As a matter of fact, on one of the projects I'm working, I was trying to get a hold of one of the vendors that we're using, and he hadn't responded to me, and it had been a couple of weeks. And so I kind of progressively got more frustrated with my voicemails and the tone of my voicemails and my emails, and basically saying, "Hey, this is." I need to hear back from you. Have you abandoned our project? What's going on? I'm very concerned because there's been like 0 response. Well, he called me on Monday.
And this poor dude's been in the ICU for like 2 weeks.
Well,
he fucking left on his collapse.
He wasn't in the ICU, but he was in the hospital because he had a mild procedure. And because of the current situation with COVID, you can't really have visitors. You can't have people up at the hospital. So basically, for the most part, he didn't have the ability to respond back to me.
He didn't have a cell phone, or
what's that?
He didn't have a cell phone, or?
Well, no, he had a cell phone, but again, he was recovering from a surgery, right? And so I think realistically, he was just flat out recuperating. And he called me on Monday, and he apologized profusely. But when he explained the situation, I did feel bad. I was, I thought, well, because normally if someone's trying to get a hold of you, and we've talked about it before, sometimes when you guys can't get a hold of me, what's the first thing you do? You call my wife.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's because you have my wife's contact information.
Well, and plus I know that you don't answer your damn phone anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
Dude, just send him some cookies. Send us some Tiff treats, man. You can hook him up with a dozen chocolate chip and some chocolate milk.
We'll see.
Well, anyways, we got off on a little bit of a tangent, but speaking on
See,
the
that's the
Houston,
great thing about our podcast is that we can say whatever we want to say.
that's
Right.
true. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm just saying,
Yeah, because we're not going to get censored. I pray by cancel culture.
I don't know, man. Facebook. That's what I'm saying. Our Facebook page might be in jeopardy.
I mean, unless either of you wants to openly admit that you were at the riots, I think we're pretty safe.
Okay. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, going back to when Jay was ragging on Houston, I'll speak to the James Harden situation a little bit. I think. Well, obviously, first of all, the Russell Westbrook James Harden experiment was over in the summer when they traded Russell Westbrook. But definitely, the James Harden experiment, that chapter is closed in Houston as it appears. And I don't know.
All I'm saying is Brooklyn better check his beard for COVID, man. He's hiding something in there.
Well, I was gonna say not just that, but I think his whole demeanor about how he really went about this season, he didn't really give, Houston a chance this season. Now, I know he's, like I said, he's been there 8 years. They had to go up against the Warriors, so many other good teams. I mean, I don't know, not everybody can win one. Charles Barkley was still great. He just had to go up against Mike.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's part of it. I also think that the evolution of putting together, all the pieces of a team outside of the actual NBA process. For example, I mean, it was that Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh, all those guys were talking about getting together before they actually did. And then they're calling their agents and they're calling the team, trying to make it happen. The thing is, like James Harden, I'm not the biggest James Harden fan, but there's no denying the guy is talented. The guy is an awesome player. He's a competitive athlete. The fact that I think he gave up, I mean, that just tells you that, he's trying to find a situation where he wants to give himself a chance at a title. RJ, you and I have debated back and forth about Kevin Durant, right? And you, for a long time, or you still do even today, you don't want to give him any credit for what he accomplished at Golden State because he went to a championship caliber team.
I agree wholeheartedly with RJ on that.
Thank you.
That's a spineless move for somebody to consider themselves a champion to do something like that because even that's why hold on,
because he did the same thing in essence.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Bron, I don't have that much respect for LeBron either because you're right. He did the exact same thing. He's like, hey, let me go to Miami. Let me put this team together myself. I'm going to go there. Dwayne Wade's already there. We'll get Chris Bosh there. We'll build a super team and we'll go. And when the fact that he walked in promising 8 championships, we ain't going to win 3. We're 7, 8, 12, 15, whatever that whole speech was about was because he knew what he had just done. He had to buy himself a championship. He had to go build himself his own champion. Jordan didn't have the benefit of that, dude. Jordan played with the players that were given to him. Now, those players were drafted to him. It's not like he went out and said, hey, told Jerry Krause, go get me Scottie Pippen because he's already a proven talent on another team. Scottie Pippen was born and raised in the Chicago Bulls franchise. They didn't. I think the only real piece that might have been added to help that along was Dennis Rodman. But it's not like he demanded for Dennis Rodman to get traded there. It's not like he went to Jerry Krause and said, if you don't bring Rodman here, I'm out. Right? He took what his general manager gave to him, and he won 6 championships. You can't say the same for Bron, and you can't say the same thing for Kevin Durant. Now, you might be able to say the same thing for Steph Curry, because Steph Curry's playing with what's given to him. It's not like, he demanded, but Steph Curry's also doing a little tampering when he's calling Kevin Durant in the summer going, hey, man, you need to come over here, dude. Come hook it up. We can win you a championship over here. You didn't see shit like that in the 90s NBA.
Well, he made a lot of points. I'm not here to reignite the LeBron MJ debate tonight.
Oh, Lord.
But it's coming.
Or even the LeBron KD debate. But, all I'll say right now is we got Luka, and that's where my focus is. And I'm glad because in my mind, I think he's going to stay. I think he'll be, the next Dirk. Obviously, that's what I hope. Nobody can tell the future. It's all we'll have to see, I guess.
Well, the good part about it is that nobody can pay him more money than Mark Cuban. And you don't think if you don't think for a second that Mark Cuban ain't gonna money whip that dude when it comes time for his new contract, you're out of your damn mind, man.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt about it.
I always knew, Luka was better than James Harden. So Houston, we can finally stop with all those comparisons. It's because I'm pretty sure half of y'all are burning his jersey right now anyway.
And the other half are burning the beers that you had gotten.
2/3 of this show is now a front.
No, I'm not. I was just saying they attacked Luka in their letter to me. I mean, that debate's kind of over at this point because he's a Brooklyn Net. So checkmate.
Well, and the whole thing that got me about that whole letter,
you had to throw in the checkmate. You had to throw in the checkmate.
It's not like James Harden was a part of those Houston Rockets championship teams. That was all Akeem the Dream, And I'll tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the NBA greats. That dude was ridiculous, man.
He was a bad man. Yep,
he was a bad man. And when you look at the pantheon of Texas greats in basketball, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan. The Admiral David Robinson, Tony Parker. And I hate to admit it, man, I hate the Spurs too. But Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, those guys are up there along. Now, the only reason I think that I would put Dirk above all of them is even though they have multiple championships, Dirk is really the only one that is, he's sixth in scoring in league history. And that's crazy knowing what position Hakeem Olajuwon played, what position Tim Duncan played, and what position David Robinson played. They all played center.
Yeah, yes and no, but the thing is, I think the one thing to keep in mind is that Dirk was able to use a three-pointer a lot more in his arsenal than either Hakeem or Duncan, because those guys weren't.
It's not Dirk's fault they weren't willing to go out and work on their outside shooting. They depended on living in the paint. Hey, Dirk in the later part of his career, Dirk could play in the paint with the best of them. He could back dudes down. He could shoot over. Hey, you don't have to believe me. Go watch the footage. YouTube it, dude. Dirk was in the latter part of his career. Dirk was a very good inside player. I mean, just look what he did to Serge Ibaka in the NBA Finals year that they won the finals. What he did to the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. He took Serge Ibaka to the rim so many times it wasn't even funny. And Serge Ibaka is one of the premier defensive players in the NBA now. So, you can't convince me that in the latter part of his career that Dirk was not. And I mean, just look at the two key plays from the NBA Finals. He didn't get those points that won games 2 and games 4 from the outside. He drove to the bucket to get those. He drove on Chris Bosh. He drove on everybody. And Dwayne Wade was this close to blocking that shot in game 4, but he didn't. And that's my point is Dirk was able to get to the bucket because he became such a good inside player. He didn't have to depend solely on his three ball in the latter part of his career like he did in the first part of his career.
I wasn't gonna stop him even though we got off topic because I love me some Dirk talk, and I wasn't going to interrupt Dirk talk, but I think he makes some great points, and maybe this will be a controversial take, but I think Dirk has one of the best NBA championships in the history of the game.
Oh, dude, absolutely he does, because he was a one-man wrecking crew in those championships, man. I mean, the guy averaged 10 points in the fourth quarter for the entire run of the championship. How crazy is that? I mean,
if Dwayne Wade, hadn't paid the refs, we probably would have too, but
yeah, dude,
I guess we'll never know.
They were robbed in 06.
They really were.
They were.
But I mean,
well, so hold on.
Okay.
One of the things that we continually tell ourselves that we're not going to make these things too sports heavy.
Yeah.
So
I know.
let's put a pin for now. Well, let's talk. Just 2 minutes. Hold on.
It's hard because we are also passionate about sports.
Right.
That's the problem.
So let's talk just 2 minutes, more or less about COVID impacting the Mavericks and in the NBA in general. And then let's also, I guess, have a quick discussion about COVID in the NHL. Luckily, it really hasn't impacted football as much, and we're already into the playoffs. So hopefully, as we week by week, we're eliminating more and more teams that we get down to as we get down to the final, the final four eventually for the NFC and AFC championship. And then of course the Super Bowl that, once we get past all that, COVID will, we can set it aside for another season, but basketball and hockey are just getting started up.
Yeah. The thing that surprises me so much about the NBA this year is how, the fact that they're moving forward with their season the way that they are. I mean, they haven't canceled nearly as many games as they probably should have. I mean, they're just like the NFL. The NFL was hell bent on getting this season in. Period. The fact that they made the Broncos play a game with no available quarterback goes to tell you where their mindset was, right? And well, yeah, of course, because dude, they cannot survive another year. The NBA cannot survive another year playing all teams in the bubble.
Yeah,
they just can't.
Not just that, but the players aren't going to agree to it. I mean, it was challenge. We heard reports of how challenging it was for how many? Well, they really only had 6 regular season games and then playoffs. I mean, that was challenging for them already. And now imagine even if they tried to institute it at this point, we're talking a 60 game season with those same kind of restrictions in place. They're not going to agree to that. 60 games where you can't see family.
Well, I don't remember who it was. The ticket had a cut this morning. It was in this afternoon. It was Jake and Dan were talking about this very thing. And one of the players basically came out and said, look, I'm a grown ass man.
George Hill.
Huh?
It was George Hill.
Okay. George Hill came out and said, I'm a grown ass man. They're not going to tell me that I can't go see my family. They're not going to tell me that I can't go out of my hotel room. They're not going to tell me all these things, that I have to do all these things for a whole season, because if it comes to that, I just won't play, and I think you would see a lot of that if they tried to move to that bubble type situation. But I think the biggest thing for them of not wanting to move to that bubble type situation is not just the players concerned, but the fact of the money, like Roland said. This league, the NBA would not survive another year with zero revenue, right? When it comes to ticket sales, when it comes to merchandise sales and things like that,
I was gonna say,
they just can't do it.
It's not zero revenue because they're still getting TV money. They're still getting advertising money. But you're right. Merchandising took a big hit. But I mean, people are still buying jerseys. People are still buying, logoed, whatever it is. Apparel, knickknacks. I mean, we're all still consuming that stuff. Maybe not at the same levels pre-COVID, but that stuff doesn't really stop. But to your point, they are missing out one of the largest revenue streams that they have. Obviously these guys have concessions that they're losing.
Yep.
The on-site merchandising that they're losing, and then of course, ticket sales. So yeah, you're right, but it's one of those. I oftentimes I wonder when they talk about we're not making money. These guys, a lot of these guys are damn near close to billionaires that are owning these teams. If they, most of them are really close if they're not already. And so as much as we talk about the economic side of it, it's also interesting that all these teams, even the small market teams, have tremendous book value.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, tremendous book value.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it's amazing to me. I'm glad you talk about the economics of sports, because I've always been fascinated by economics, period. When it comes to business, when it comes to restaurants, I can tear the economics of a restaurant apart just because I spent so much time in the restaurant industry. I'm learning economics in a different industry now that I'm working in now. But sports economics has always fascinated me. And the fact that it amazes me how these teams continue to rise in value year after year after year, because let's take the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones bought him in what, 89?
Yeah.
For how much? Do you remember?
250 million, something like that.
$360 million. Okay. In 1989. What were they valued at last year? Do you know?
Over $5 billion.
$5.8 billion, damn near $6 billion in 30 years. 40 years. How was that? 40 years.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had a significant
Super
playoff,
Bowl and
playoff.
25 of those years.
Getting the Super Bowl. Let's be honest. Getting the aside from the Patriots, getting the Super Bowl every year is an extremely difficult challenge. But
yeah,
not to have a team even competitive enough to make it deep into the playoffs is what's really the frustrating part. But again, to your point, so much so. Well, so much of the business model now is truly about branding, and let's be honest, this logo is iconic, just like the Steelers logo and the Packers logo. I mean, there's a handful of logos that are just the logo itself is just value. It sells. I mean, but this one is global, right? And the biggest part is that all of us, particularly the three of us on this screen, we consume this. We feed it. Now, I think we've all discussed that we're not necessarily going out of our way to buy a bunch of cowboy stuff. We get a lot of it given to us as gifts from other families, but someone is still spending that money to buy this cup, right? To buy this logo. And the other thing is, man, when it pertains particularly to football, I guess this shows you that football is still king.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? The NFL is still king.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. In this country, it's going to take a lot to supplant the NFL as the king of sports. Just because, think about it, the NFL is the only sport in America that has hijacked an entire day.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you don't think of there's no day of the week that you think, oh man, that's NBA day, because they play Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. They play every day of the week. For the longest time before the NFL started trying to hijack Thursdays too, Sunday was, everybody knew it. Sunday was NFL day, man. Get out, get to church early, go listen to the early morning sermon, get out so that dad can get home and go watch football the rest of the day. It's just crazy. Even now, us growing up, there's days now. I mean, some days, some weeks, Sunday's the only day I have off, and I feel bad during football season because there's sometimes I'm telling my wife, "Hey, go ahead and go to Michael's or go do what you're going to do. I got something going on right here."
I think I'm gonna switch to the Dallas XFL team.
Wow.
They probably got. I think they probably got a better chance going forward.
Damn. Damn.
No,
Jerry,
but I mean,
if Jerry Jones wanted to, he could buy that whole league and then just step on it, put the name under his foot and step on it if he wanted to.
okay, okay, do it. That ain't gonna hurt me in any form or fashion.
Yeah, then you won't have no more XFL.
Anyways, I mean, I think every league to some extent is just right now living on a hope and a prayer because.
Well, yeah, because NBA is not the only league experiencing those issues right now. I mean,
yeah.
in the NHL, I mean, when you look at the Dallas Stars, I think you and I, we talked about it before we started, filming everything that there were 20 active cases of COVID in the NHL right now, and 17 of them belong to the Dallas Stars. That just tells you how. And you know what? I listen to something like that, and it amazes me because when you see the interactions after a basketball game, after an NBA basketball game, what are they doing?
They're
the game's over,
swapping jerseys, dapping each other up,
giving hugs.
Yeah.
Hey, let me get a sports hug. Let me go say hi to this dude over here. So when the Mavericks, when this whole thing started for the Mavericks, it was just two players, and it was right after the Denver game that got left behind.
Yeah, it was right after Denver. Like literally, they're about to take off from Denver, and then it comes out that 3 players have to stay behind. And
because of contact tracing.
Yeah, I know it was Jalen Brunson, Maxi Kleba, and I can't remember the third.
But my point is, how is it that Denver got 0? I mean, shouldn't they be part of the contact tracing too? Because they all had contact with those players after the game. Mm-hmm. It's not like Denver just walked immediately to their locker room. I watched that game, and I have it, on my DVR, and I watched it the other night again. And immediately after the game, they're all hugging on each other. Everybody's, going through the handshake lineup. Everybody's saying what's up, going over to their bench. They're seeking each other out. Everybody wants to come give Luka a hug. It's just crazy that 0 cases came out of Denver. So it makes me wonder what teams are actually following these COVID protocols.
Well, one of my friends, Eric, brought up a good point. Both times that the Mavs have gone to Denver, bad things happen. The first time, last season, it was the season got shut down. That was the Mavs Nuggets was the very last game. And then this season, the start of the COVID positive cases. So maybe we need to stop playing in Denver.
Yeah, how do we know it's not Denver that's giving our players COVID? What's going on over here, man? Because that I don't know, man. It's just the whole thing. It's
and the crazy thing is, like, even MLB has already the commissioner has already come out and said it's going to be a 162 game season, and I mean, same thing. You can't really do it in a bubble because what the players' union isn't going to agree to that, and I mean, there's going to be living on a hope and a prayer too, because even if if a player tests positive, yeah, they'll go test him, the players around him. But the problem there is that, hello?
Yeah.
Well, we're listening.
Oh, sorry. I thought it looked like he froze. My bad.
He just hasn't moved in 5 minutes.
I think the problem there is that, and this is for all the leagues really, is okay, you test the players that have been around them next and they test negative. Well, there's a good chance they're not going to test positive right away, but in 2, 3, 4 days afterwards when the
incubation period.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think the saving grace for Major League Baseball is the fact that they started in the spring, and by that time the vaccine should be widely available to the general public. And I think a majority of the players would want to get vaccinated. I don't know that they would. I don't know if they wouldn't. I mean, but I mean, if the Major League Baseball mandates that, hey, you have to get the vaccination if you want to play this season, How many are going to rush to do it? And I think that'll be a saving grace for Major League Baseball is the fact that you're not starting until March or April.
That's true.
Whereas, these guys are still starting up right now they're on that tail end of shutdown outbreak, but right on the very beginning of the vaccine being available widely to the general public. So I think it kind of sucks for football, basketball, and hockey, and the fact that they're kind of stuck right there in that middle section. Whereas Major League Baseball, I think, has a little bit of advantage because they don't start till the spring.
What were you going to say, Dad? Or Texas proud?
Well, no, it was more than anything. It was just an observation that they can make all sorts of plans and try to institute all these different protocols, but bottom line is the players are going to do what they're going to do, and so we're just going to have to get used to the fact that there's going to be disruptions and week to week, day to day, because we're going to get some of these guys that are going to be testing positive, have to self quarantine or whatever the protocol is going to be, and it's just going to be an ever revolving situation. That's all. The other thing I was going to say is I don't think any of these sports are really going to get super strict until one of these athletes gets sick enough and passes away. We know that these guys are some of the most well-conditioned. They're the most well kept. They got the best top medical support in the world. But at some point, the numbers, right now they're all kind of defeating the odds, right? No one's gotten the sick level of sickness that they're in jeopardy of losing their lives. At least I don't think. I haven't heard any. You guys may have heard something otherwise, but I don't believe it. So, again, it'll be business as usual until that.
But I think you see it take effect on some players. I know that for all the grief that Zeke took this year, a lot of people said that one of the reasons why he seemed like he lost a step or wasn't playing as well is because he was still recovering from COVID. Because that thing, it takes a toll on your lungs. And
no, of course it does. But what I'm saying, and that's a good example, but Zeke probably was never near death.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I think that you do see, though, it affecting some of the players.
Sure.
I think he's the biggest example of that. I mean, I don't really know any.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what would happen if Braun got it or KD got it or Tom Brady can't play in the NFC Championship game because he gets it.
Yeah.
They might. Yeah.
Well,
there's a different. Hold on. There's a difference between
Tom Brady's going to get to the NFC Championship game first.
Okay, I'm just saying if Pat Mahomes gets it in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, they didn't care about it when it was Denver, but Drew Lock isn't Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, luckily for them, none of the really the faces of the league haven't gotten it.
We have egregiously broken our limitation of the sports rule. So let's just go ahead and call this a hard stop for now, because I do think we owe it to ourselves to have a quick conversation about the events that have unfolded with our government here in the last really the last week, less than a week, but last week the House of Representatives met to certify the election results. Right. And of course, everybody knows of what happened. We had some knuckleheads that stormed the Capitol. I think some of them didn't really have the intention of, creating or it wasn't under the auspices of an insurrection, but they're also, that mob mentality took hold. And you had a lot of people make some very, very stupid decisions and did some very, very stupid actions, and they're going to pay for it.
Oh, yeah. They're already starting to pay for it, man. I don't know if you've seen any of the video, but a lot of these people that have already been identified are now being labeled as terrorists. And
On the no-fly list.
yeah, they're on a no-fly list now. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen some of these videos coming out from the airports of these people trying to get on their planes and being taken out, and they're all pissed off. What do you mean I'm a terrorist? Well, you know, dude, you were stupid enough to go do something like that. Period. I mean, bro, calling them knuckleheads is letting them off nicely. These people were just plain stupid.
Right.
Especially the ones that, hey man, let me take the podium and let me grab a selfie real quick, you know?
Yeah.
First of all, what kind of effing moron do you have to be to do something stupid like that? And then to, you know, like the guy who picked up the podium and was carrying it around, you know, picture, hey, you know, let me pose for a picture with the podium. And the guy that broke into Nancy Pelosi's office and's got his feet up on the desk, and you know, you guys, you idiots don't seem to understand that you're committing a federal crime. This is not, you know, look, the riots that happened during the summer that, you know, they broke into Walmart and they stripped down a Walmart and a Target. Yes, that's wrong. And you know what? It's a felony. But dude, you're going on federal property to do this. You fucking idiot. It is a federal crime. You don't think the FBI is going to be looking for your dumbass now? How dumb do you have to be? And to just show your face so happily because, oh man, look, let me get all this publicity. That publicity ain't going to do you any good when you can't get to your TikTok account because you're up in Leavenworth, idiot. You know, stupid.
But anyway, go ahead, RD. You want to interject something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I can't disagree with him. And, you know, not that I'm trying to get people to vote more liberal, but the problem is that these are people who voted in some regards, in some instances, against their self-interest because they didn't think they'd be in this position and they thought Trump would have their back.
Yeah.
You know, I'll not to bring it on air. I'll send you. It's funny that you mentioned that because I saw this thread where a Hispanic guy who lives in a community of people who are like that kind of really got into the psychology of why they got behind Trump. But, you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, right. You know, the burning of a Walmart is bad, but it's definitely not. And I'm for neither, but it's definitely not as bad as, you know, storming
the U.S. Capitol. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and what happened today? It's Wednesday. You know, we film our episodes. We try to film our episodes every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And on this day, what happened is that now Donald Trump has been
impeached.
Articles of impeachment have been brought up against Donald Trump for the second time in his presidency. Mm-hmm. In a 4-year span. Now, the first time they were brought up, that was all, you know, partisan rhetoric on both sides. This time, there's no defending what he did. You know, I know Republicans are voting. There are Republicans voting against the articles of impeachment, and I get it. You're towing the party line right now. But I don't know, and I don't know. I don't think there's anybody who can really stand behind what he did as a true conservative Republican. You can't. I mean, I'm not talking about Trump supporters because I think those Trump supporters are a totally different
category of itself. Yeah,
they are. They are a totally different league of people. Because, like I've said before, please don't lump me in as a Trump supporter because I'm not. But I am a conservative Republican, and there's no way that I can. Just my opinion.
No, you're a rhino.
I'm a rhino.
Oh, he doesn't know what that means.
No,
Republican in name only. It basically means like you say you're Republican, but like when they use it for like people who their party of mostly politicians who their party affiliation is Republican, but when it comes down to like supporting certain bills, they're a little more liberal or
I thought he was
Democrat.
talking
In
about
them.
this pimple I thought I had on my forehead. Um, come on, dude, that was funny. You know it was. But anyway, my point is, I don't know a sane person that can honestly sit here defend what he did, the things that he said, especially after, the riot. There's no defending what he did. So, um, you know, it's easy to say he deserves this second impeachment.
Well, he did himself no favors, first of all. So, in some instances, I wholeheartedly agree that what he did was irresponsible. Now,
To say the least.
exactly, but we've all been consistently critics of Donald Trump. Some of his policies, I do believe, were probably more racially motivated. But as a whole, there are some of his things on his agenda that I do support. But him, the person, was not a good person. He's not a good person. And what I don't understand is why so many people just feel like he's, he self-proclaims he's the greatest president of ever. And unfortunately, there are a number of people that actually believe that. And I don't know how our sense of leadership became so warped.
You know what it is, bro? And again, this is just my opinion. Not the opinion of the Now That You Mentioned It podcast or anything, but it all has to do with the fact that some of us get blinded by celebrity. There are those people who give so much credence to what celebrities say. I mean, just look at the fact that the Kardashians are as famous as they are. What are they famous for? Absolutely nothing but being famous.
I can tell you, but I can't say it. I don't want to say it on the podcast.
But but my point is, people give so much credence to celebrity in this day and age, and I think that a lot of people got swept up by Donald Trump's celebrity. The fact that he was, even though he wasn't the most liked celebrity in the world, but he was a celebrity. He was, he had his own television show. He had his own catchphrase. You're fired. He came out in. I mean,
No, I think kind of what he's saying is right. I think they don't believe the things about he screwed over contractors. He screwed over all these people. They don't believe that. They legitimately think it's fake news and don't realize that it's not even just him, not to single him out. There's other rich people in this world that have gotten to be rich by screwing people over.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Damn.
Well, I'm just saying, look at the fact that all these stories came out about Ellen DeGeneres, what a horrible person she was to her staff, what a horrible person she was to her people in her production company. But yet people elevated her to that status of superstar status just because she danced a little on TV or she made a funny joke or because she came out as gay, whatever the reason is. But it's that level that people get of celebrity worship that they think that their people can do no wrong until it comes out of it. I think I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop on Oprah because,
first of all, I see what you're saying. I think your argument has some merit, but here's the reality that I think. Celebrity gets tired. Celebrity wears off. I mean, celebrity is one of those things where you could be a big star today and tomorrow you're a loser or you're a nobody.
Some people.
No, hold on. You're right. I think what Trump was able to do was build a machine that was successful because of intimidation, was successful because his message resonated with the percentage of the United States that's just tired of being trampled on. And let's be honest, it's middle to upper class white males, because we have taken our society, and we have mandated that, if you're going to hire 10 people, 6 of them need to be minorities, or 6 of them need to be a combination of minorities, whites, and this, that, and the other. So you're not necessarily saying you need to hire the most qualified. You're saying you need to hire diversity, which I get that. I do support that to some extent. But what we don't recognize is there's also reverse racism that's created by that. And so when a group, and people will argue, well, that they've enjoyed the spoils of being a white middle class male for so many years, it's about time. Okay, that you want to hold that. I don't necessarily have a response for that. But what I'm saying is, for every time someone's losing something for someone else to gain it, right?
Right.
And the one thing that I am consistently frustrated about is that our government is so terribly inefficient. Our government, the oversight is pathetic. And so those of us that work hard, those of us that go out and try to make a good living and make our money, I feel that we have the best ability to decide how we want to spend our money. Sure, we'll pay our taxes, put sales taxes on. I mean, we're already paying sales taxes as it is, so if we want to use that money and consume, put a little bit more tax on something. But if I want to keep buying Topo Chico, right? Mm-hmm. And, you put a nickel tax on it because it's Topo Chico for whatever reason, I therefore have the decision. I, as the consumer, have the decision and the power to decide, do I want to pay that nickel or not?
And right? The cigarette industry is a very good, example of what you're talking about, because the cost of cigarettes in the last 20 years has gone from even the cheap packs, where you could get a pack of no name brand cigarettes for $1, to now even your no name brand cigarettes are $5 a pack. And if you still choose to smoke cigarettes,
how often are you buying cigarettes?
I was just about to say, so what we're finding out is Jay's got a smoking habit.
No, but it's just you're right about that, bro. If I choose to spend, I should have the right to choose to spend my money how I want to spend my money. The fact that we're taxed on our money several different ways, because we're taxed with payroll taxes, we're taxed with income taxes, we're taxed with property taxes, we're taxed with sales tax. When you own a home, capital gains taxes. You're paying too much tax on your own damn money that you worked hard to get, but yet our government still continually has to borrow money from Social Security because they're not efficient enough to be able to run the government on the amount of taxes that we're paying. It's ridiculous.
Well, and there are far too many people that are abusing and taking advantage of the system. People will often use the fact that illegal immigrants, benefit from it. Well, a lot of illegal immigrants that are here, they're hardworking people. They consume, they buy property, and they actually some of them paying into Social Security without ever having the benefit of getting that Social Security in retirement. Yeah. Because they're using somebody else's number. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that we ignore the fact to some degree. And, I'm kind of mixing a whole bunch of things here, and that's not my intent. What my intent was that I think that, unfortunately, government has become this juggernaut of a very, or more, such a huge entangled web, right? And so we unfortunately have created a society of disenfranchised people. Now, you could argue historically you've got disenfranchised people, the minority people, the African American community, the Hispanic community, the gay rights community. Okay, I hear your message, right? And I do believe for equality for all. I totally get that. But that doesn't mean that your cost of equality means that you got to suppress someone else's rights,
right?
And then get mad when they swing back. You get mad because they swing back at you. I mean, it's tantamount to, I don't know if you guys remember, and I'm probably crossing a line here that I might regret, but you remember there was a case, and I'm sorry I don't have all the details. It's just something that crossed my mind. But there was a baker that refused to bake a wedding cake for a couple that was going to have a gay marriage. They wanted to have a gay marriage, and so the baker, the owner of the bakery, refused. Right, and then all of a sudden, people were bringing action against them. Legal action, threats. I mean, just basically terrorizing these people because they refused to make a cake for someone that didn't have the same beliefs that they had.
Yeah.
And they were persecuted for that. And we they never should have refused. No, that's not America either.
No.
And anybody that tries to convince me otherwise is perverting equality for them. We should
there's plenty of people who would have made that cake for them.
Exactly. But it was the fact that, well, no, we want this person to make it for us. We want their cake. Well, if they refuse to make the cake, what right do you have to enforce them to do it? You don't. You don't have that right. And so you don't want, you want equality, then don't do business with them. Go find somebody else. Let them handle their business. And they deal with the fallout of other people saying, well, if you're not going to treat gay and lesbian people or black people or Hispanic people the right way, then we're not going to do business with you. Fine.
And I agree with you. And let the market dictate. If they lose revenue because of it, fine. Then the market dictated. And I agree with you. And even in that case, I thought the same thing. Like, well, they can just go somewhere else. It's a private business. That's the thing about America. And it's crazy because I find the irony that now there's all these people that are like attacking the social platforms because they're banning Trump. They can go make their own platform. I mean,
yeah,
Twitter is a private business. Twitter is a private business.
You're right. You're right about that. But what if you have to give one voice, if you give a voice to someone, you got to give a voice to someone else, because in that case that Roland's talking about, that gay and lesbian couple has the absolute right to voice their opinion about it. Now, they don't have the right to force that person to do it, but they have the right to voice their opinion about it. Okay.
Right.
Now, what Apple and Google and what a lot of these people are doing, big tech is doing, is wrong, because people went out and made their own voice about it. They created Parler, right? And if Facebook wants to kick you off, fine, let them go to Parler. But when Apple says, well, we just won't carry Parler, if you're going to give a voice to somebody here, then it's only fair to give a voice to somebody else here, right? Yes. Just because that person doesn't share your exact opinion.
Yes, but they made the decision to buy an iPhone.
Has to be drawn.
Hold on, two things. I got two things to say about that. They made a decision to buy an iPhone. No one forced them to buy an iPhone. No one's forcing them to use Apple. It's a decision. And the other thing about that is he's the president of the United States. He has a press room to be on national television, and he's choosing not to use it. He has a platform to go talk to the people. If Twitter's his preferred platform, that's not. I don't care.
And more importantly, to RJ's point, you cannot tell me that if the president of the United States went out and made statements, whether it's on tape, doing a tape, whether he does it live, it's going to show up in print in every major newspaper, magazine, or anything on the internet,
I don't know what
because
mainstream
that
media
is
is.
newsworthy. What's that?
I don't know what mainstream media.
Well, that's the other, I was going to say.
You know what? That's a whole nother show.
I was going to say, to some extent, the rise of reality TV and the media is kind of responsible for, him being, to some extent, president, because they gave him the spotlight. I mean, if they would have just ignored him and everything controversial he said, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. But, just like you said, I don't know how the hell the Kardashians are famous. I don't understand it. I don't, support it. But hey, the market dictated. It is what it is.
But I guarantee this, that among the millions and millions of Americans, there is a percentage of them that will become hostile towards us for insulting the Kardashians.
Oh yeah, I know. That's fine.
And
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, my point being is that we're never going to make everybody happy.
No.
Everybody has their own little, interests, their own little fiefdoms, whatever you want to call it. However, when we collectively as a country begin to squeeze any minority, and minority can also mean white, male, middle class America. It can absolutely mean that. Then why do we overreact when those groups try to voice and get their message across? Look, you guys both know I don't support Trump at all. I didn't vote for the man. I'm glad that he did not get reelected. But what he represents, though, is that a voice, and there are people in this country that are very dissatisfied with the way this country is being run. More importantly, about how our politics are going. We've talked about term limits before on this show. We've talked about, the fact that all these lawmakers, in my opinion, are out of touch with the common working person. One of the things that I pointed out in the past was that our father never used to vote. Okay, he always complained, but he never used to vote. And one day I called him out on this. He was on a rant about I can't remember who was president at the time, but some law or legislation or something. And I confronted him and said, Dad, you really don't have honestly, you shouldn't be complaining, because you don't exercise your right. You don't go out there and vote. You don't try and make a difference. And you know what he told me?
What's that?
He honestly said, I don't do it because my vote really doesn't matter, because people are going to do what they want to do anyway. That the people that are feeding money into Washington, they're the ones that are going to have their voice heard. They're the ones that are going to get the favor. They're the ones that are going to get attention, not us, not the working class person. And the one thing I will take from that, and of course I said, Dad, that's, you gotta get out there and get your voice. You gotta be responsible. But I did take away from that his mentality. How many people feel that way, bro?
No, yeah.
How many people feel so disconnected about what our government is now, that they're just fed up? And what Trump, right or wrong, what he represented was a disruption. Now, I wish he would have been a lot more the kind of leader that would really bring people together, that would say, look, guys, this government is not really working the way it's supposed to be. We need to fix this. We got a lot of hard decisions to make. Let's get to work. No, I think he spent most of the time in office stroking his own damn ego.
Yeah,
that's all he did.
That's agreed.
He was all about bringing people together, so long as it was at a Trump resort.
Right.
Well,
as long as you're spending money on his golf course and staying in his hotel.
We here at the now that you mention it podcast, just want to say that, you know, we have love for the world, except for Houston.
Damn, I was gonna say, and hopefully no politics next episode.
Yeah. But hey guys, we really do appreciate all the love and support that we do get from those of you that listen every week, those of you that watch every week, those of you that reach out to us every week. We really do like it. We really do appreciate it. Whether you agree with us, whether you don't agree with us, again, that's our beliefs are not your beliefs. Your beliefs are not our beliefs. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. And that is one thing I think that we can all agree on here on the show, is that everybody's allowed to have their own opinion, and we can still be friends, be family, even though our opinions may not align. That's part of the great thing of being an American citizen. But, please, again, if you like what we're doing, give us some feedback, especially here on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the little bell for notifications when our new content goes out. You can also follow us on our audio-only formats on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. And then reach out to us on our social media, our Facebook page. Hit us up on Instagram, on Twitter, on Reddit, on TikTok. And is that all of them? I think I got them all. And don't forget to hit our website up. Go to nowthatyoumentionit.org. Our link will be in the bio, guys. If you can get all our past episodes there. You can, if you want to leave us a comment there, send us an email, whatever, man. Just, we really do want to hear from you. We want your opinions. We want to know what you think about what's going on in the world today. So hit us up. And just remember, we couldn't do it without you, Jesse P. So thank you for that.
Good night, boys.
Good night, boys.